I want to say this clearly before I start. I did not believe in paranoia. I did not believe in bad feelings. And I absolutely did not believe someone could live inside your life for years without you knowing. I believe that now. Because if I hadn't noticed one small detail on a Tuesday night in March, I would probably still be sleeping in that house, with him still letting himself in. I'm 67 years old, retired, widowed. I live alone in a small farmhouse in rural Pennsylvania, the kind of place people my age dream about. Quiet, trees, no neighbors close enough to bother you. That night, I was sitting in my recliner watching the late news, half asleep, when I heard the sound. The key turning. Not the door opening. Not footsteps. Just the unmistakable metal click of a key rotating inside a lock. And then, nothing. At first, I laughed under my breath. Old houses make noise. Wood shifts. Pipes knock. Your brain fills in gaps when you're tired. But then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My front door was already locked. Let me back up. I've lived in this house for 12 years. Bought it after my wife passed. No crime. No break-ins. The previous owner was an older man who died quietly in his sleep. His kids sold it. Clean history. Every night I locked the doors the same way. Front door. Back door. Mudroom. Same routine for over a decade. So when I heard that key sound, my first thought wasn't fear. It was confusion. Because if the door was locked, what key had just turned? I muted the TV and sat completely still. Silence. No footsteps. No door opening. No breathing. Just the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. I stayed there for a full 5 minutes before I stood up. When I checked the front door, the deadbolt was still engaged. Locked. I even tested it. Solid. That should have been the end of it. But when I went back to my chair, something else caught my eye. The chain. I never used the chain lock. Ever. It was hanging loose. That was my first real hook. The moment my brain stopped trying to explain things and started asking the wrong questions. I locked the chain that night and slept with a lamp on. Nothing happened. The next night, nothing happened. 3 nights passed and I almost convinced myself I imagined it. Until Friday. Friday night, I was in bed around 11:30 when I heard footsteps. Not creaking. Not settling. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Heavy. Coming from the hallway. I held my breath and listened. The steps stopped right outside my bedroom door. Then I heard it again. The sound of a key turning. This time, inside the house. I don't know how long I stayed frozen in bed, staring at the dark outline of my bedroom door. I didn't grab my phone. Didn't shout. Because whoever was out there wasn't rushing. They weren't sneaking. They were comfortable. After about a minute, the footsteps moved away, heading toward the kitchen. I waited until morning before I left the room. Every door was still locked. Nothing was missing. But the chain on the back door was hanging loose too. I called the sheriff's office that afternoon. The deputy who came out was polite but clearly skeptical. He checked the doors, the windows, the locks. No signs of forced entry. Probably an old house, he said. Or maybe you forgot locking something. I almost believed him, until I showed him something I hadn't mentioned yet. The spare key. I keep it in a small drawer by the phone. It wasn't there. The deputy's tone changed after that. We searched the house again more thoroughly. Nothing. Before he left, he told me to change the locks and keep the doors secured. I changed every lock the next morning. Brand new deadbolts. Brand new keys. For 2 weeks, everything was quiet. I slept again. Relaxed. Started laughing about it with friends. Then one night, I woke up to the sound of my refrigerator opening. Here's the thing about living alone long enough. You know your house. I know exactly what my fridge sounds like when it opens. That soft suction pop. The faint rattle of the shelves. I lay there listening as someone stood in my kitchen, breathing. Slow, controlled breaths. Then I heard it. A familiar sound. Metal. A key being set down on the counter. I reached for my nightstand drawer where I keep my handgun. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. The footsteps came closer. Stopped outside my door again. And then, a voice. Quiet. Come. Mel. He said my name. I don't remember standing up, but suddenly I was yelling, pointing the gun at the door, screaming for him to get out. Silence. Then the sound of the back door opening. When I checked, it was wide open. Unlocked. The chain broken clean off. I didn't sleep in that house again. The sheriff returned. More officers came. They searched the property, the woods, the sheds. Nothing. No fingerprints. No footprints. But one of the older deputies pulled me aside before they left. He asked, "Did the previous owner ever live here alone?" I told him yes. He nodded slowly and said, "You should check the attic." The attic access was in the hallway ceiling. I had never gone up there. When I did, I found a mattress, flattened, recently used, food wrappers, a flashlight, and a ring of keys, including mine. Here's the part that keeps me awake. One of the keys was older than the rest. Rusty, worn smooth. The original house key. The one the previous owner used. The man who died quietly in his sleep. The man whose house this was before mine. The man who was never alone. I sold the house 3 months later. I didn't tell the buyers everything, just like no one told me. And last week I got a letter forwarded from my old address. No return name. Just one sentence inside, written neatly. "You forgot to check the basement."
I didn't believe in haunted houses. I believed in squatters, in animals, in bad wiring that made old walls groan at night. But I believe now, because an abandoned house once learned my name, and it has been calling me back ever since. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where nothing ever really happens and everyone pretends that's a good thing. We had one grocery store, one high school, and one stretch of road everyone avoided after sunset. Briarwood Lane. At the end of that road sat a house no one claimed, no one bought, and no one repaired. It stood there quietly, sinking into itself year by year like it was trying to disappear. People said a family died there in the 90s. Others said they vanished. Some said the house killed them. Nobody agreed on the details. They only agreed on one thing: don't go inside. So I didn't. Not until the letter arrived. The envelope had no stamp, no return address, just my name written neatly on the front. Inside was a single sentence: "You were never supposed to leave." That night, I dreamed of the house for the first time. In the dream, I was standing in the front hallway. The air was thick, dusty, and warm, like something had just exhaled. I could hear whispering, but not words. More like breathing layered over breathing. At the end of the hallway, a door creaked open, and something inside whispered my name. I woke up soaked in sweat. The next morning, I drove to Briarwood Lane. I told myself I just wanted closure, curiosity, proof that fear was just imagination. I parked across the street and stared at the house. Looked wrong, not broken, not decayed. Waiting. The front door was unlocked. That should have scared me. Instead, it felt familiar. The air inside smelled old, but not rotten, like dust mixed with something sweet. The floorboards creaked under my weight, not randomly but carefully, like the house was listening. The walls were lined with old family photos. That's when I noticed the problem. The faces in the pictures were clear. Too clear. And one of them was me. Same eyes. Same scar on my chin. Same face I saw in the mirror every morning. But the photo was dated 1996. I was born in 2001. I dropped the frame. Behind me, something shifted. Not footsteps. More like the house adjusting itself. I should have run. Instead, I walked deeper inside. The living room looked untouched. Furniture covered in sheets. A clock frozen at 2:17. On the coffee table sat a thick photo album, already open. Page after page showed a family. A mother, a father, 2 children, and me. Older photos showed me as a baby, then a toddler, then a little boy standing in front of the same house. On one page someone had written, "Daniel, our miracle." My chest tightened. I was adopted. Closed records. No photos. No names. Yet here I was, documented, loved, and then slowly erased. Because the photos changed. Smiles faded. Eyes hollowed. Shadows appeared in corners that didn't belong to anyone. And behind the family, something tall, watching. I heard footsteps upstairs. Slow. Deliberate. Someone wanted me to hear them. Each step creaked under my feet, but I could hear another set of steps matching mine, half a second behind. The hallway upstairs felt narrower than it should have been. The ceiling pressed down, forcing me to hunch slightly. Doors lined the walls, all closed. Except the last one. Light leaked out from beneath it. I pushed it open. It was a child's bedroom. Blue walls. Toy cars neatly lined up. A bed made perfectly. And sitting on the edge of the bed was a man. Too tall. Too thin. His face shifted like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. He smiled. "Daniel," he said gently. "You came back early." My throat locked. Who are you? I whispered. His smile widened. I'm what stayed. The room changed. The walls darkened. The toys melted into blackened shapes. The bed sheets stained red, spreading like ink in water. The man stood. You were born here, he said. The house chose you. I shook my head. That's not possible. He stepped closer. The others fed it, he said softly. But you survived. Suddenly the walls began to bulge outward. Faces pressed through the plaster. Mouths opened in silent screams. Fingers clawed from inside the walls, dragging, scraping. The house wasn't empty. It was full. I ran. Doors slammed shut as I passed them, forcing me toward the stairs. The house shifted, hallways bending where they shouldn't, guiding me like a maze. I tripped down the stairs and crashed into the basement door. It locked behind me. The basement smelled like damp earth and metal. A single light bulb swung from the ceiling. Beneath it, names were carved into the concrete. Hundreds of them. Families, children. At the center, Daniel Harper. Crossed out. You escaped, the voice said, no longer pretending to be human. But you were never free. The floor cracked open. Hands burst through. Cold fingers wrapped around my ankles. I screamed until my voice broke. And then, I woke up. I was in my car. The engine running. The sun rising. The house across the street looked ruined. Broken windows. Collapsed porch. Abandoned. I laughed. I cried. I drove away. I told myself it was stress. A nightmare. A hallucination. I almost believed it. Until 3 nights later. I was organizing old paperwork when something slipped from my adoption file. A photograph. A baby in a hospital blanket. On the back, written in neat handwriting. Daniel Harper, Briarwood Lane. The lights flickered. Behind me, the floor creaked. Slow. Careful. Like something walking through my house. I haven't slept since. Sometimes I hear breathing in my walls. Sometimes I dream of doors locking themselves. And sometimes, when it's very quiet, I swear I can hear a house miles away, calling me home. Because abandoned houses aren't empty. They're just waiting. They say some houses remember. Not the people who lived there. Not the events that happened. Just the way you see things inside their walls. I didn't believe it until I walked into the house on Ashwood Street. I'm a photographer. Nothing fancy. Mostly abandoned buildings, old factories, places people avoid. I like the feeling of history lingering in dust and cracked wood. So when I found the Ashwood house, it seemed perfect. 2 stories, Victorian, almost intact despite decades of neglect. Its crooked windows and warped doors made it look like it was leaning toward the street, watching. I rented it for a weekend photo shoot. Simple. I thought it would be fun. I was wrong. The first thing I noticed inside was how wrong the space felt. The entry hall was narrow, but when I stepped inside, it felt like it stretched forever. I measured roughly, twice the length of the house. The ceiling rose, then lowered, just slightly as if it were breathing. The floors creaked under me, but not randomly. Every creak seemed measured, deliberate, almost waiting. I shrugged it off. Old house, old floors. I set up my camera in the living room. Dust floated like tiny specters in the light from cracked windows. I aimed my lens at a corner and snapped a photo. The camera screen showed movement. I froze. Nothing moved in the room. Just the shadows. But in the picture, faint figures flickered, like ghosts caught mid-step. I blinked, focused, snapped again. The figures were gone. I laughed nervously. Must have been a reflection. But then the subtle thing started. A chair that had been facing the window was now rotated slightly. A rug that had been flat now had a fold in it, though I hadn't touched it. And every time I took a picture, the photos didn't match reality exactly. They showed the room differently. I moved to the staircase. The wooden steps groaned as I climbed. Then I saw it, in the corner of my camera's frame, a woman in a red dress descending the stairs. Careful, elegant, and smiling, but her smile faltered at the last step. I lowered the camera. Nothing. Empty staircase. I turned slowly. The house was silent. Dust hung in the air. No sound of falling, no scream. Yet in my photos, the woman's fall repeated itself, over and over. I felt my stomach tighten. I wandered upstairs trying to shake it off. But the house refused to behave. Hallways twisted. Doors led to the same space twice. I went to the master bedroom and stepped out, only to find the staircase landing again. I tried to map it in my head, but the angles made no sense. It was impossible geometry. The house wasn't broken, it was alive. I picked up an old diary from a desk in the study. Its pages were brittle but legible. The last entry described a murder, room by room, step by step. Names scratched in margins, blood drawn carefully like sketches. Then I noticed something impossible. The pages shifted when I wasn't looking. Letters moved on their own. When I blinked, the diary now described my arrival, my camera, my footsteps. The house knew I was here. Objects began moving subtly. A candlestick rotated. A clock hand spun backward. Photographs on the wall altered. Each photo showed the same scene from different years, sometimes decades apart, but I was in them, framed among the people I had never met. By nightfall I was exhausted. I tried to sleep on the second floor, but the walls whispered through shadows. Not words. Memories. Faint snippets of conversations, arguments, laughter, screams. Time warped. Minutes stretched. Hours vanished. I checked my watch. 5 minutes had passed, or maybe 5 hours. I couldn't tell. The house had swallowed time. At midnight, I noticed the photos I had taken during the day had changed. Each one now showed me inside rooms I had never entered, holding cameras I hadn't picked up. One image showed me standing at the top of the staircase while a shadowy figure fell. The house was recording me. I realized it. Every step, every glance, every thought, cataloged, rewound, replayed. And then the replay started live. I saw the woman in red again descending the stairs. This time she looked at me directly. Her eyes weren't hers, they were mine. I stumbled back. I ran toward the front door. The hall stretched longer than it should have. The front porch was 100 feet away. I tripped, caught myself, and looked back. The walls were moving. Slowly, subtly. The paint rippled like skin. My own face appeared, pressed faintly into the plaster. I understood. The house didn't want me dead. It wanted me recorded. Added. Preserved. A new memory trapped in time. I tried windows. Locked. The front door stretched further away. The house was reshaping itself. Every exit I tried led me back inside. I realized then that the house had no outside. At least not for me. I hid in the attic. Dust fell from the beams above. Moonlight streaked through broken boards. I waited, shaking, clutching my camera. But the camera wasn't mine anymore. Images flickered on the screen. Me, always me, standing in the rooms, smiling, always smiling, trapped in a memory loop I couldn't escape. Morning came, or at least I think it did. The house was silent. I descended the stairs cautiously, trying to find the front door again. I opened it. Sunlight poured in. The street outside looked normal. Empty. Safe. I ran to my car, drove miles away. I told myself it was exhaustion, a hallucination. Maybe the shadows, maybe the geometry of the house had tricked my mind. But in my pocket, the camera. I couldn't leave it behind. I looked down at the screen. The house smiled back at me. And I was in it. I never returned. But I still photograph abandoned buildings. Sometimes when I review my shots, I see rooms I never entered. Doors I never opened. People I never met. And sometimes, I see the Ashwood house watching me. Waiting. Recording. Because houses remember. And some houses never let go.